And now, Tales from the Mission.
Yeah, Hannah, my wife, she served in Montreal, Canada. And part of the Montreal, Canada mission is actually Ottawa's, where she serves specifically for this story. So I'll go ahead and let her tell the story.
I was serving in Ottawa, and my companion and I were assigned to the young single adults. So we spent a lot of time around the university. And I remember one day, pretty soon after the new semester had begun, we were walking around and we met a couple of students who had just arrived from China. They had picked English names. So one of them was Candace and one of them was William. And we asked them, hey, can we share a message with you about Jesus Christ? And Candace said, sure. And William said, who is Jesus Christ? And I was not very prepared for that question because I'd never met anybody who didn't know who Christ was, whether they believed in him or not, that they just had never heard of him. So we said, well, he's the Son of God. And he said, oh, who is God? And I remember thinking, this has got to be like a language barrier thing. But Candace was there and she helped us translate a little bit. And I know he genuinely had never heard of Christ or God. And so we started to try to explain who God was. It was kind of, it's sort of an all-encompassing, huge concept. And so we said, well, he created the earth and he put us on here. He created us and he put us here so that we could learn and grow and eventually go live with him again. And William said, why? And we said, well, because he loves us. And it was amazing to watch how that struck William. That was something that really hit his heart. And as we continued to meet with him, Candace's interest kind of waned, and she didn't come very often. And when we would meet, and eventually we didn't see much of her at all. But William, he could not get enough. He just this idea that there was a God and that he loved William changed his entire perspective on everything. We gave him a Mandarin Book of Mormon, and we would sit side by side with the English Book of Mormon, and we'd show him scriptures, and we'd find the right page in the Book of Mormon in Mandarin, and he would read it, and he would have all these questions. And as the semester went on and his English got better and better, it was just amazing to watch this person go from not even knowing that there was a God to believing in God and believing in Christ and in his gospel and having this desire to be baptized. And he was baptized, and he went on to serve his own mission, and he even shared the gospel with his own family, and they eventually were also baptized. And it's just amazing to me the power of that knowledge, that you are a child of God, that he loves you, and that you're here because he wants you to be happy, that he wants you to grow and to learn and to just become more like him and to eventually be able to live together again with him. And that was a very powerful experience for me to be able to have the honor to introduce somebody to God. Was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so that's pretty wild that I never had that experience particularly because I didn't with the immigrants that I worked with were mostly Haitian or Colombian, a lot of Spanish and French. And they specifically had a concrete knowledge or belief in God. But this one convert that she worked with, having no previous, coming from China and having no previous like concept of who God is, that's kind of that takes the next level effort of missionary work to teach someone the whole story, right?
That's supercharged. Yeah.
And Hannah and I actually served in the same mission, but never like directly in the same area. So I came in as zone leader a couple transfers after she was there.
Yeah.
And I actually got to meet the people that she taught, right? And we were able to meet with him, and he's a great guy, really solid. So
that's awesome.
Good job, Hannah. Did a great job.
So this was in my second area. It was in a city called Arewa in Paraguay. It was a really nice city. It was really cool. There was a lot of hills, and we did a lot of walking. My quads were on point. in that city because we did so much walking up those hills. And I was with my companion one day in our apartment, and we realized that we were completely out of restoration pamphlets. And those are like the first pamphlet that we would hand somebody. If they had any questions about the church, it answered like, hey, what do you guys believe? Who are you guys? Where'd you come from? What are some of your core belief systems? And so we would give them this pamphlet, and that was kind of the go-to. We were completely out of that. And so we called up our district leader. We're like, hey, we've searched everywhere. We can't find a single pamphlet. Please, can you send an order for more? And he was like, yeah, sure, we got that. So we got some more ordered. We went out, and we're like, all right, in the meantime, we'll just use the Plan of Salvation pamphlets. So we went out. We contacted pretty much all day. It was getting dark, and it was getting late, so we were heading home. And on our way home, we were heading up a street, and there was a guy who approached us on the street, and he was just like, hey, I've noticed you guys, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about you guys. And I was just like, oh, cool, yeah, well, we're missionaries of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We go around helping people understand more about Jesus Christ and helping them understand more about the main questions of life, where they came from, why they're here, where they're going. He's like, that's fascinating. I would love to learn more about where your church started and the origins of your church. And we were like, oh, man, if only we had a restoration pamphlet right now, this would be perfect, because he told us he had to go. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, so we were like, well, let's just give him a Plan of Salvation pamphlet, and that'll be a little bit helpful, and we'll just try and make that work. So my companion unzips his bag. We look in his bag at the same time, because it was on his shoulder. We look into his duffel bag, and there on top of all the other pamphlets was a restoration pamphlet just sitting there. And we were like, we were so blown away by this. He picks it up out of his bag. We look at it, and we both at the same time just went, whoa. And I'm sure this guy looked at us like, man, these guys are drinking their own Kool-Aid. This is crazy. But we were so blown away by the fact that there on top of everything was a restoration pamphlet. And we gave it to this guy just like super careful. We were like both watching this thing like it was something magical. We were just like, here you go. And he took it, and he's just like, yeah, thanks, And we were just like, uh-huh, yeah. And then he kind of went his way, and we were both just like, what just happened? So it was a really cool experience for me. I've never seen anything like that before, but it was amazing to me to see that if God needs someone to see something at a certain time, he'll make it happen. And that was a really cool testimony building experience for me.
My favorite part of that story is that the guy, the investigator, had no idea of the miracle that just happened, right? Like,
yeah, to him, we were just two random guys just like staring at a pamphlet like, oh,
looking at it as you give it over, like, whoa.
Look how special this is. Oh.
Maybe he like read it extra carefully because you gave it such attention.
Could be.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
I'm sure it gave him pause. I'm sure he was like, whoa. But yeah, that was super cool.